Hi guys, today I'm going to warn you because I fear that a lot of you are falling into this bodybuilding trap that is really just killing everyone's health. And you'll see a lot of these bodybuilders, especially the younger guys, have really bad acne on their face and their back. And they'll tell you, oh, it has nothing to do with my diet. It's all because of my genetics and I have really high testosterone. The truth is, testosterone is at an all-time low all across the world, and the acne seems to be getting worse. It seems that I'm convinced 100 years ago, no one had spots on their face. And you can fact check me on that. You can look into it. If that's not true, go ahead and let me know. But I'm convinced that that's true. And it's more of a new phenomenon. And it's really because our health is at an all-time low. It's not because testosterone has been spiking, because the truth is testosterone on an average has been lower by 2% every single year since like the 2000s. So if you only spike up to like 400 nanoliters or whatever the measurement for testosterone is, and teenagers 50 years ago used to spike up to 900, why is your acne worse than the teenagers of the 1900s? And it's because you've adopted this mentality that so many bodybuilders have bottle fed you, that if it fits your macros, you can eat it. And all you have to focus on is the law of thermodynamics for the sense of gaining and losing weight. It's very simple, and I appreciate simple, but it's wrong. A lot of these people will say that you can have cereal and a protein shake and it has the same macro as some eggs and rice, and you'll still get the health benefits. You'll be healthy eating a protein shake and cereal. Oh, you can eat the sugary stuff as long as it's in moderation. That just doesn't work. And the reason that you'll get a huge spike in your acne from eating this cereal and protein shake, when the cereal has the same glycemic index as rice. Rice basically breaks down into pure glucose in your system. So that is going to spike your sugar just as much as cereal does. It makes sense, but the problem is the quality of the ingredients. That's really the truth, and that's really what so many people ignore, to the point that I have to make this video. So if you're dealing with spots on your face, if you're dealing with these health problems of maybe being winded all the time, humans, especially if you're in your teenage years or your young adult years, you should absolutely not be winded walking up the stairs. You should be at a level of cardio, even without exercising all the time. You should be at a level where through your diet alone, you can walk up some stairs without being winded. But a lot of people can't relate to that. They can't say that they can do that. And it's because they're eating those cornflakes and protein milk for breakfast. And the truth is, you look at these protein shakes, they have 30 grams of whatever lab-made protein, whey protein. Okay, it's fine. Your body will absorb that. But you look at the other 20 ingredients and you have no clue what they are. A big one is sucralose. This has been studied to negatively impact your gut health in the sense that it kills the good bacteria. Now, there's a ton of bacteria in your gut. Spoiler alert, you want them on your side. They're going to be there no matter what. And sugar is the most common way that the bad bacteria will overgrow, and that's the most common way that you'll get acne. But whenever you eat sugar, it feeds the bad bacteria. It doesn't really do anything to the good bacteria. Now, sucralose there's two good sweeteners, stevia and monk fruit. That's a little side tangent. Any other artificial sweetener, sucralose, I can't remember any of the names right now. That's the big one that is in everything right now. That's going to kill the good bacteria. It's not necessarily going to add to the bad bacteria, not necessarily going to feed them, but it's going to lower the amount of diversity in your gut. And that is why I think that we see so many young men with acne nowadays, because we're just eating these sugar-free things if you're health conscious, or you're just eating so much sugar, so many things that break down into sugar like rice and bread, and not doing anything with it. So this ends up feeding the bad bacteria. And that's why everyone has spots on their face. That's why everyone's dealing with constant stomach pain and having all of these problems, because we're just not eating real food. Now, the sweetener, how they're sweetening these protein shakes, is just the tip of the iceberg. You look at the other ingredients, you look at the preservatives, the sodium benzenate, things that you just can't pronounce, and you're drinking them without a second thought. You can't pronounce half of the ingredients in your little drink, and you're really at the mercy of the company. And what does the company want? The company wants to make a profit as cheap as possible. So they're going to be using cheap preservatives. They're, as a general rule of thumb, they're going to be using things that aren't in your best interest, they're in their best interest. Now, some companies will say, okay, if I make things in the consumer's best interest, I can charge more. So typically, the more expensive stuff is going to be higher quality, because the company is making you pay for that presence of mind, that peace of mind, that what you're eating is good. This isn't always the truth, but the new question arises of, what can I eat that's good? What am I putting into my body with this protein shake and these cornflakes? And the cornflakes too, there's a ton of preservatives to keep it from going bad. So how do you really know what's good? How do you know what's going to be locked in for your health? And how do you know what's going to be bad? Because if you can't identify your enemy, how are you ever going to win the war? Now, these preservatives are all also linked to endocrine disruption, maybe lowering your testosterone, maybe disrupting your gut health, maybe giving you all these other problems. And you wouldn't know. It's very uncommon to have a food with 4 ingredients nowadays that you can name all the ingredients. So you can either say, to heck with all of it, I'm going to return to my primal state of eating steak and eggs and rice. And that's what a lot of people ended up doing with this new movement of eating on the cutting boards and just having meat and fruit. And a lot of people noticed a lot of benefits. But I think another way to go about it is just scout out the ingredients for yourself, because a lot of these foods are really tasty. So it would be good to know what's actually going to harm you and what's not going to. Now, I'm going to shameless plug the app that I use. I use this app called Yuka, and it allows me to scan every barcode of these foods that I'm eating. And it tells me, okay, what's bad in this? And it gives you a score out of 100. Now, they kind of fall for the liberal programming that saturated fats are inherently bad for you and too much sodium is inherently bad for you, which I don't think that's true. I'm a runner. I've been running 30-mile weeks recently in preparation for the marathon that I'm about to do, the Columbus Marathon. I think I'm running 40 or 50 miles this week. So I go through a lot of sodium in that cardio. I'm an avid cardio doer as of right now. And I'm probably not going to continue that after the marathon. I'll find another way to do enjoyable cardio, but I'm a fit person. And because I'm using this sodium so quickly, I really need all the salt that I can get, because that's a part of your electrolytes. Whenever you work out, you're going to be sweating out salt. So if you sweat a lot, you can eat a lot more salt. So in that case, for me, I'll see foods that are very high in sodium, and the app will mark them down as bad for you. So you have to use your discretion. But the greatest use of this app is that you can see the additives. You can see all these preservatives, the sodium benzenate, all these things that you have no clue what they are. And a lot of them are vitamins. Pretty much everything with flour in it is going to have niacin, which is a B vitamin, riboflavin, which is another B vitamin, folate, I think that's iron. They have these names, and it kind of buffs out your ingredients list. And whether enriched foods are good for you is a whole different conversation. But you'll be able to distinguish that for yourself, because this app is going to tell you what's in the foods that you're eating. And it'll tell you, okay, this is famous for being not biodegradable and you don't want to put it into your body. This preservative is famous for killing your endocrine system, so it's going to lower your testosterone. this is a potential allergen, so maybe try it out. And if you have problems with the food, mark that down and realize, okay, I'm probably allergic to this. I shouldn't be putting this into my body. This is what's been giving me gas throughout my entire school year. And it could be. And you're able to use this app called Yuka. The icon is a little carrot. And it's going to help solve a lot of your problems. And if you pay $9 a year, that's less than $1 a month. If you pay $9 for a year, you can search up anything that you don't necessarily have on hand. Like maybe you're searching for a shampoo or something. You can search it up and then you can click best rated and just get the best shampoo possible. You can get rid of all of these ingredients that are killing your testosterone, killing your well-being, killing your gut, and you'll be in a much healthier state. And you can't ignore these ingredients because otherwise your health is going to suffer. It's not as simple as calories in, calories out. What a lot of these Sam Sulek people will tell you, this is something I followed for a while and my skin was awful. Sam Sulek will tell you you can eat cereal in the morning because you have this number, this arbitrary number of, okay, I want 240 grams of carbs today. I want 150 grams of protein. I want 60 grams of fat. And as long as whatever you eat and whatever you're tracking fits into these little bubbles, then you're going to be healthy. You're going to be maintaining your calorie deficit or maintaining your calorie surplus. You're going to be eating more calories than you need, so you're going to be gaining weight, or you're going to be eating less calories than you need, so you're going to be losing weight. And from a pure bodybuilding perspective, that's fine. But if you're using donuts and Rice Krispie treats to fill out your carbs, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to be really hungry. These artificial sweeteners have also been known to make you hungrier. Sugar makes you hungrier. Carbs, as in general, make you hungrier. So if you're not timing your meals properly, it's not going to be great for your appetite. And these muffins are 500 calories, and they're this little thing. There's not a lot of fiber, so you're not going to be full. You're not going to be satiated from what you're eating. So if you're on a cut, if you're in a deficit, you're just always going to be hungry eating these foods. That's the number one downside. It makes it way harder to follow this diet, this plan that you have. And number two, you're going to fit the macros, but you're going to be getting these preservatives, these weird things that I mentioned before, that are just going to nuke your health. So from a pure bodybuilding perspective, it is fine to have the idea of calories in, calories out. If you eat more than your maintenance calories, if you eat more calories than your body is burning, of course you're going to be gaining weight. And that weight will probably go into muscle if you have the right ratio of protein. But if you follow this stuff, you look at all these guys, they're on steroids, so it kind of skews the data, but they do all have acne. They have all these health problems, and Sam Sulek, he'll get winded walking around. I love the guy. I think he's great. But I don't think he's living to 100. And I want to make it to 100. I want to live this awesome life and then have my kids know me as Peepaw. I think that'd be a great life. I think that's what God has planned for me. So I can't be sacrificing my health now. Because if I sacrifice my health now and give myself type 2 diabetes or something, I'm going to have to cut this out if these dogs keep barking. Shh, quiet. All right, I think we're in the clear. If I give myself type 2 diabetes now, I'm going to be having all these joint problems. Diabetes attacks your nerves. So I'm not going to be able to move my fingers in the same way that I'm able to now. I'm going to have arthritis in my 50s. I'm going to have joint pain in my knees. My ankles are going to swell, and I'm not going to be able to walk properly. And diabetes comes from chronically overeating sugar and not burning it, and it stores as fat around your organs. Or maybe you have liver problems. The mailman came. I think it's so interesting how dogs, they hate the mailman when he's coming to our property, but then I'll take them on a walk, and the mailman's their favorite person. They're wagging their tail, trying to jump at the car and eat it. They lead simple lives. It's like a territory war for them. Such a simple way to live life. I think we could learn something from dogs. However diabetes is caused, type 2 is caused from eating too much sugar. They call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes, from the same problem of just chronically having high insulin and your body being so sensitive to it. It starts to get into your brain, and then you start to forget things. You start to get brain damage from just your diet alone. You didn't even have to get punched in the face enough. You didn't get the satisfaction of a long boxing career. At least that's what some of these dementia people have. They had a great football career. They had a great boxing career. Whether they knew what they were doing or they didn't, they live by the sword and they're going to die by the sword. And their brain showed for that. Alzheimer's, chances are you're sitting on your butt all day and eating a ton of sugar. If that type 3 diabetes theory is true, you wasted your life. You're 60 and you can't remember your kids' names. What did you do? What do you have to show for it? Oh, Peepaw ate too much cake. Now he doesn't remember our name. Breaks our hearts. He's in a nursing home. We have to pay for it. He's a burden to us. Do you want to be remembered as a burden? I get that this is extreme, but sometimes you have to ponder the extremes to realize if a decision that you're going to make is worth it. I hated myself throughout high school. I had spots on my face. And that was all it took for me not to talk to girls. I put them on a pedestal. I saw them as perfect. I accidentally put them on the same level as God. And I was sitting there saying, I'm not worthy because I have spots on my face. Maybe if my skin was clear, maybe if my health was good, I would have a chance with these 11 out of 10s. I thought they were 11 out of 10s. I now realize that it wasn't true. It doesn't matter so much. But because I put them on a pedestal and I didn't like myself, I did like them. So I realized there's no way that they could like me. So I didn't even try to talk to them. I was socially awkward throughout high school. And I saw my friends as givers of status. I saw whoever I was friends with in high school was going to raise my status and maybe give me a better chance with these girls. So I was constantly chasing the friends that were a little higher status than me. But because I was a loser and because I didn't care for myself, I had only just started getting in the gym. I had only just started being sick of being weak, of amounting to nothing in the world, providing no value to the tribe. I didn't really provide value to this friend group tribe, so I was known as the punching bag. I was the person that they would blow steam off of and make fun of and break my balls. That's what they'd do. They'd basically bully me, and I had to deal with that because I wasn't friends with everyone. I didn't see friendship as pure friendship. I saw it as how was I going to gain from this? So I kind of had this needy vibe about me, and it was all because my health was bad. Because my health was bad, it put me into this loop of negative feedback. I'd talk to someone and they'd say, oh, this guy smells. Oh, this guy's making a lot of weird noises coming from his stomach. They just naturally saw me and they were like, oh, this guy's kind of unattractive too. His skin is terrible. They probably did think that. And I was treated worse because of it. So I'd try to talk to people that I used to be able to talk to, and suddenly I couldn't. And I'd kind of shell away into my shell and realize, I'd think, oh, this is my fault. This is me. Maybe I'm not great. Maybe I'm not what my parents told me I was. Maybe I'm not what God says I am. And self-hatred does come from pride. Because God tells you you have worth. Who are you to say that you don't? But that was my high school experience. I kept shelling away because of these negative experiences. And because I wasn't socially warmed up, socially calibrated, I'd struggle with eye contact. And I had worse and worse experiences. And for the majority of high school, I'd like to think that I got rid of that problem in senior year. But for my first 3 years of high school, I was a loser and I deserved it. And that's also an extreme, but that extreme was my life. And it was all because I had bad health. In the grand scheme of things, I didn't respect myself because I was unhealthy. And when you have spots on your face, when you have skin, that all comes from your microbiome. That all comes from your gut health being bad, and your body's screaming for help. It has to get these toxins away from you somehow, so you've acne on your face. And sure, hygiene can have a little impact. I know some people will say, I just started washing my face and my skin got clear. They were blessed with a good microbiome. I wasn't. When I was little, I would eat boxes of Cheez-Its. 1 box a day. I'd eat tons of Hot Pockets, and eventually that compounded, and a lot of the good bacteria had died. So a good protocol, eating healthy, isn't really enough once you have these problems. If you're at the same gut level that I am, you have to also increase your diversity in your gut, your bacterial diversity. You need more types of bacteria, because the more good you have, they're going to outcrowd the bad. Right now, if you have spots on your face, if you've followed this routine of calories in, calories out, I can eat a donut as long as it fits my calories, and your farts smell really bad, people don't want to be around you. Every time someone farts, they assume that it's you. That's a terrible feeling. And the way to do it is by fixing your microbiome. And that's my mission. That's what I think your guys' mission is too. I'm currently battling with this acne. I'm currently battling with the brain fog that comes from eating carbs, just because I have this bad gut health. And it's at a level where I can't just feed the bacteria. I can't just eat vegetables, eat healthy, and feed the good bacteria. I just don't have enough of them. So I have to increase them. And you might think, oh, it's hard for the bacteria to get into your gut. They just die from stomach acid. Eating them doesn't really do anything. You're just cooked. You're just a chud. I don't think that's true. There was a study done by Cell. It's some research organization. And I don't really know how to quantify a solid study. I know a lot of these people will say, oh, your study's invalid. How do you know that it was a good study? How do you know that your studies that you're citing are a good study? It's a lot of trust. So if you really understand how to read a good from a bad study, I read it. I did. I thought it was pretty good. I thought there was a lot of information on it. I thought they had a solid control group. They had a solid testing group. They basically told some people, okay, eat 6 servings of these probiotics a day. I don't know if it was 6 servings, but however many types of probiotics you want. A lot of people would just stick to kombucha. A lot of people would do sauerkraut. A lot of people would do kimchi. Just eat as much fermented foods as possible. And the reason it's fermented foods is because when these foods are fermented in this water salt brine, they harbor these good bacteria. That's why these gut healthy foods are the newest trend. Those little Yakults, they're these little yogurt shots. They're called Yakults, and they're sugar shots. They barely even have probiotics in them, in my opinion. But they were so expensive, and they were always sold out because a lot of people care about their health and they want an easy way out. Really, the way that you have to do it, and the way that I'm doing it currently, is to just spam these fermented foods, get as much bacterial diversity as possible. So these people in this study, they were eating these fermented foods as diverse as possible. And over the next 18 weeks or 12 months, however long it was, they saw the biomarkers that come from a good microbiome. They saw that their inflammation went down. They saw all these things that showed that their gut health had improved. And a lot of people will look at that and say, okay, it's not long term, but it's a really good first step. Maybe it's not long term. Maybe you have to steward these bacteria after you get them, and maybe there's a bigger step after that. But the first step is to introduce these bacteria in a way that is feasible to you. And to me, that looks like making my own sauerkraut, making my own kimchi. I just started a kombucha. I just made sriracha, which is a fermented hot sauce. The more of these fermented foods I can expose myself to, which don't taste great, but vegetables don't taste great either. And that's how you get healthy. So would you rather eat something that tastes kind of bad every night at bedtime and have glowing skin and have people treat you better because you actually respect yourself? Or would you rather stay in that negative feedback loop of people looking at you saying, he's unhealthy, oh, he smells bad? If you smell bad, it's because you have bad gut health. So you have to fix it. That's what I'm doing right now. As of right now, it looks like one spoonful of sauerkraut every 2-3 nights. I try to do it every night, but it doesn't taste good. I made it with purple cabbage. I don't like it. But I've noticed from that alone that my skin is getting better. And after that, I'm going to be incorporating my kombucha. I'm going to be drinking some kombucha every night, eating some sauerkraut every night. Add it to your meals, man. I would cook my eggs and then add sauerkraut. And that's a great meal. And eating it with protein helps it get down a little better. And the more diversity you can get into your gut, the better things are going to get. And the studies do show that after eating these fermented foods, don't take the probiotic pills. I have a video ranting about that. Go ahead and watch that after this, of course. Go check my channel. I don't have a million videos. You'll see it. After you eat these probiotic foods, the typical science, what I've read up on, is that you have to steward these bacteria in your gut. Once you get them, you have to help them grow. And that comes from prebiotic fiber. Now, there's two different types of fiber. There's soluble and insoluble. One of them is food for your gut, and the other one of them just makes you poop better. And these two types are in all kinds of foods. Typically, the crunchier stuff like your lettuce is more full of insoluble fiber, and the beans are full of the soluble fiber. So every vegetable pretty much, fruits have it too, have fiber. Fiber feeds your gut and sugar feeds your gut. These are both digested through your bacteria, and sugar feeds your gut whenever you eat too much of it, because it sits in there and your body can only process so much sugar at a time. There's 3 different types at the bare bones level. They can only process so much of each of these 3 types. So if you eat more than that, it's going to ferment in your gut and the bacteria end up digesting it. And that's where you see all of this gut, I don't even remember the word, when your gut is imbalanced. That's where you see this bad bacteria come out. It's not actually bad bacteria. You just have so much of it that it's harmful because we eat so much sugar, especially in America. We eat, bread breaks down into sugar. Rice breaks down into sugar. Bread also ferments in your gut badly just because the carbohydrates are so complex. And the gluten, your gut isn't really meant to process gluten. It's like dairy, where your body sees it as a skill issue and they start making more bacteria that are able to process it. And the people who are kind of gluten sensitive, they don't have as many of those bacteria. But bread's in the Bible. You just have to find a good way to make it. I love sourdough. I think sourdough is a great way to eat your bread. And flours change, so don't believe the lie that it's the same bread as was in the Bible. That's a whole different thought. So these fibers are typically feeding the good bacteria that you're introducing. And eventually, when you have a solid ratio of these good bacteria to these bad bacteria, your body's going to keep what it uses. So eventually, you're going to have good gut health again, and everything's going to be great. And really, that's my whole motivation. I tell a lot of people that they should eat healthy and have the discipline to eat healthy, and I'll make fun of them for eating candy. But in reality, if I had good skin, if I didn't have these biomarkers of bad gut health, I'd be eating the candy too. I'd be eating sweets occasionally. That's my ideal life. I'd like to be able to eat whatever cupcakes my wife makes. If she bakes some banana bread, I'd love to be able to eat that. But I can't right now. I have to say no to the cupcakes and the banana bread and the brownies. All because I have spots. You might think that it's vain to care about this stuff, but it does matter. It's a basic hygiene thing to have clear skin. And you could take Accutane, but Accutane kills your chances of having kids. There's a reason they don't let women who are pregnant or about to be pregnant hop on Accutane. I don't think men should either. But I think they're way too relaxed about that because it impacts the endocrine system, the hormones of both genders. So it's deeper than the calories, and I hope this video helps you to realize that. Download the app Yuka right now. That's an actionable step that you can take action. I don't expect you guys to make fermented foods right now, but I think that's the direction that I'm going to take my channel. I think I'm going to teach you guys how to fix that because I hated myself and I channeled it into becoming a more godly man. I channeled it into improving. And I think that's the best thing that you can do in that situation. The only other option is to wallow in that hate and become depressed. You need a mission, and I think it's a great mission to start working out, start improving your health. Make some sauerkraut. It's really easy. It's cabbage, water, and salt. If you have water, salt, and sugar, you can make pretty much any ferment out there. You want to make kombucha? It costs cents to make a bottle. Kombucha is great. It costs cents to make a bottle. You just need tea bags, sugar, water, and a SCOBY, which you can buy online for like $7. And you can start taking steps to improve your microbiome. And then once you have this identity of someone who wants to be healthy, someone who's going to be healthy ultimately, you start to avoid these preservatives, the stuff that I was talking about earlier in the video, all these weird ingredients that humans aren't really meant to consume. They weren't engineered by people for people, but they were really engineered by people for the corporations so that their Twinkies don't go bad for 1,000,000 years. That's why we used to use trans fats, and we found out that they cause cancer. So if these corporations they have a lot of money, if they're paying people to delay putting out this information, like the cigarette industries used to, it's not so far-fetched of an idea that we should do our own research and not necessarily trust what science says is safe. Because science changes their mind all the time. Science isn't always right. Alright guys, whatever you do, make sure you're taking up your cross. Do 100 push-ups, sow some seeds. There's a parable in the Bible of the mustard seeds, and it's about evangelizing to other people, telling other people about God. But sometimes you plant seeds and they just don't grow. It lands on bad soil. It lands on some wood, knock on wood. It lands on some wood. It lands on some concrete. It lands on the sidewalk. The seeds just don't grow. Sometimes you plant them and the soil's not very deep. They can't go very deep, so they grow really fast, but their roots aren't really established. So the plants end up dying. Sometimes you plant them and they get really good roots and they start to grow, but the environment just stops them. There's thorns. And they get choked out. And sometimes you plant them and they grow. And when they grow, they make thousands of mustard seeds in this tree. And they end up having a reach. These mustard trees end up multiplying by, the Bible says, 70 to 100 times. And that comes when you plant these seeds. And I think that was definitely talking about evangelism. That was telling people about the kingdom of heaven. Some people are going to reject it, and you have to be okay with that. But the Bible also says many times in the Old Testament mostly that you're going to reap what you sow. So you have to do some work. You have to sow some seeds so that you can reap some benefits. So sow some seeds today. Do 100 push-ups so your chest is slightly bigger in the future. And by the time that you're 50, when you've continued this workout journey all the way up until you're 50, and suddenly your body is never going to have any problems, any major problems just from decaying till you're 100 years old. And you're going to be so grateful that you planted those seeds when you were young and capable. Because right now you're young and capable, and chances are you aren't doing much. You're watching a 30-minute YouTube video, which is great. This is great because you're learning things. And there's other 30-minute YouTube videos that are just pure entertainment, and it'll feel like you lost 30 minutes. You didn't lose 30 minutes watching this, but if you watch too many of these and you don't take action, you're going to be having problems. You're not sowing seeds necessarily by paralyzing yourself with information. So take this information and take some action. Don't be passive. I challenge you, ferment a food, or at least do some push-ups. If you're not ready to dive into fermentation, if that still sounds scary, if I didn't sell it for you, whenever you wake up, do 50 push-ups and take a cold shower. The Bible says to take up your cross daily. And sowing these seeds, the cold shower is going to grow your mind. The push-ups are going to grow your mind. They're also going to grow your body. And really, this is an achievable physique. I do a lot more than push-ups. I do things in the gym. But if you do nothing but push-ups for 10 years, you'll probably get a physique like this. And this is really where I dreamed to be. Dreamed in the past tense, back when I first started. 16-year-old me would be so proud of where I am today. And that's the whole reason that he started planting these seeds. And you can do that too. But you have to take action. Do 50 push-ups right now. And then tomorrow, commit to doing 50 push-ups and taking a cold shower. Start a piece of paper with the days numbered and just check off whenever you did that. Try to do it every single day. That can be your Ashton Hall morning routine. Oh, I ice my face in the morning. You don't need to do that at the start. Sure, that's a good habit. Sure, that'll probably reduce your inflammation on your face. But right now, just focus on growing your body and your mind. That's all I got today, guys. I'm going to start referring to you guys as guys because I know some girls watch my channel, but for the most part, that's not who I'm trying to teach. The ladies, you can apply this too, and I'm sure you guys like the health stuff a lot more than most guys do because it's not so attractive for guys. As a guy, you just want to make muscle and pump up your biceps, but I am talking to younger me, and I wish that younger me had heard this quicker than he did. And that's the whole reason for this channel. So don't get offended if I address the boys. The ladies, you're on the right path too. This is the kind of stuff that you need to be watching, putting into your brain. And if you get healthy, you're going to be radiant. It doesn't necessarily matter if you're attractive as a lady, as long as you have that radiance. If you have that radiance and that godliness that comes from being healthy and stewarding your mind as well by reading your Bible and keeping that close to your heart. Looks don't last forever. The young woman has looks. That's kind of her value. That's not her whole value, but that's what a lot of men process it as. And the older woman, as her looks start to fade, either she fades and she starts to just look worse and worse, and that was all that she had, or her looks transform into radiance and she starts to glow. And that's how you do it. And if you have that radiance, maybe you want a partner, maybe you don't. That's going to be good for you either way. It's going to be good for advancing the kingdom of heaven because people are going to look at you and they're going to say, you're different. Now, my sister just got home. I'm going to be going to the gym with her. We're going to hit legs today. I used to not train legs because it was gay. That's not the truth. And I think I just made a video about that. I think it's on Instagram. Follow my Instagram, BanjoJude1. I have a Twitter as well. I've only made 1 or 2 posts. Like and subscribe if you made it this far. It's a 40-minute video. I'm pumped for that. I appreciate you guys for watching because the numbers do matter to me. I like to think that I'm growing. So, thank you for supporting me and what I think my purpose is. Take some action, all right? Goodbye.